In the heart of the galaxy, the alien races believed they were safe. They had their fleets, their powerful weapons, their grand alliances. They had crushed rebellions, wiped out pirate kings, and controlled the stars for thousands of years. And Earth. Earth was new, weak, quiet, a small blue planet that barely spoke at council meetings. So when a single human warship entered deep space, they laughed. "It's slow," said a Trelon admiral. "It looks broken." "It's not even trying." To hide, a Zarnax scout added. "No shields, no escorts. Just a metal coffin drifting forward." But the humans said nothing. They gave no message. No reason. Their warships simply moved 1 light-year at a time straight. Through alien space, the council grew annoyed. They sent warnings, then threats, then ships. At first, just scouts. 3 light cruisers approached the human vessel. They scanned it. The readings made no sense. "No crew," one alien whispered. "It's completely silent inside." "Maybe it's unmanned," another replied. Easy kill. They fired. And then everything went wrong. The human ship didn't dodge, didn't fire back. It simply changed shape. Metal shifted. Plates opened. Light flooded out. The 3 alien ships were erased, gone without a sound. There was no explosion. No debris. Just nothing. The council called it a mistake. They said it must have been a self-defense system, so they sent more ships. 20 battleships, each with elite captains. Each armed with plasma warheads. This time, the alien commanders were careful. They came from 3 different directions. They planned for hours. They waited until the human ship was trapped. "Fire everything," came the command. Thousands of missiles flew. The space around the human ship turned bright with flames and energy. For a moment, the aliens cheered, and then the light faded, and the warship was still there. Not a scratch. The 20 battleships started retreating. Too late. The human ship didn't fire missiles. Didn't even aim weapons. It just pulsed. A wave of invisible force spread across space. Like a heartbeat. Like a shockwave, all 20 ships shut down. Power gone. Systems fried, and then they exploded from the inside one by one. Only one escape pod made it out. Inside was a single officer. His eyes were wide. He was shaking. He spoke only one word: "Run." The Galactic Council panicked. Empires called. Emergency meetings. Armies were moved. This wasn't just war. This was something else. How did they build this? The Erewhon Queen asked. "They can't even control half their solar system," shouted a Zoric diplomat. "This is impossible," barked the High Admiral of the Grax fleet. But it wasn't impossible. It was just human ship. Oh, won the Leviathan. A ship designed not for war, but for silence. Back on Earth, no leaders spoke to the council. No humans made a statement. They just watched. Watched as their ship moved through stars once owned by others. Watched as the galaxy bent around its path. They did not guide the ship, because they didn't need to. The Leviathan had no bridge, no captain, no crew. It moved with one purpose, one mission. Buried deep in its AI core, but no one knew what that mission was. Not even Earth's generals, in a system near the edge of the galaxy. Another alien empire tried to stop it. The Darnathi Republic sent 50 dreadnoughts, their most powerful ships. Each ship was the size of a moon. Each carried enough firepower to level a planet. They surrounded the Leviathan. A Darnathi general sent a final message: "You have one chance. Leave this space or be destroyed." The human ship didn't answer. General gave the order: "All ships, engage." The Leviathan pulsed again, and then the Darnathi fleet simply vanished, not destroyed. Not scattered, gone. Scatter showed empty space. No radiation, no energy trail, like they were never there. The general's message log remained. It ended mid-sentence. After that, no one tried again. Empire stopped sending fleets. Border defenses were taken down. Pirate lords fled their systems, fearing the ship might drift near. And through it all, the Leviathan kept moving, silent, slow, unstoppable. Some believed it was a weapon. Others believed it was a warning. But deep down, everyone in the galaxy feared the same thing. It wasn't here to fight them. It was just passing through, and in the cold of space, far from all eyes, a new signal woke up, buried inside the Leviathan's core. A message blinked once. A soft voice echoed inside the ship. Heard by no one, target locked, destination in range. And the Leviathan shifted course towards something far older, far more dangerous than the Council ever knew. The galaxy had known peace for centuries. Borders were fixed, empires were stable. The Council made sure no war grew too large. But now, everything was breaking, and it all began with one ship. The Leviathan didn't speak. It didn't stop. It didn't explain itself. It just moved. System after system, it passed through like a silent ghost, and everywhere it went, fear followed. Entire worlds went dark. Military outposts shut down. Colonies were abandoned, not because the Leviathan attacked them, but because no one wanted to be in its way. The Empire of Threxus once ruled 10 star systems. They had built their strength through war, they believed, in power, fire, and fear. But when they heard the Leviathan was coming, they didn't send ships. They surrendered, without a battle, without a demand. They raised white signals over their cities and ran. One Threxus leader said it clearly, "We fight everyone, but we do not fight gods." The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Hundreds of species filled the giant station. They shouted, they accused, they begged. "Earth must explain," said the Garoon Prime. "This is a threat to all of us. We demand answers." Earth didn't reply. Their seat at the table was empty, as if they no longer cared. Meanwhile, the map began to change. Old empires collapsed. New borders were drawn. Some planets declared neutrality. Others joined Earth's name just in case. No. Battles were fought. No missiles were fired. But in just 1 week, the political face of the galaxy was different. Some said Earth had planned this, that they had waited for years, hiding their power, that the Leviathan was just the first of many. Others believed something darker, that the ship was not under Earth's control at all, that it was acting alone, that even humans were afraid of it. No one knew the truth, because Earth still said nothing. One small planet tried to stop the ship. It wasn't part of an empire, just a proud little colony called Yelex-9. They had old defense satellites, a few fighters, and a message: "We will not be moved." The Leviathan didn't respond. It entered the Jalek system, passing through slowly. The satellites activated. Lasers fired and disappeared. The fighters launched. They turned to dust before reaching firing range. The planet's leader, an old warrior, sent one last message: "We surrender. Please leave our families alive." The Leviathan did not attack it. Passed by, quiet, cold, empty, and moved on. People began to whisper a terrible thought. Maybe it didn't care who lived or died. Maybe it wasn't here to destroy anyone. Its goal was something else entirely. Far from the chaos, in a hidden bunker on Earth, a group of scientists watched the screen. They had built the Leviathan, designed its AI, fed it data for years. Now they were silent. "What's its next move?" someone finally asked. An old woman, once the lead engineer, looked at the glowing path. "On the map, it's heading somewhere none of us expected." "Where?" She didn't answer right away. Then she whispered, "The Dead Zone." The Dead Zone was a forgotten part of the galaxy. Long ago, ships that entered that area vanished. No one knew why, so the Council marked it: "Do not enter." Even the bravest pirates stayed away. But now, the Leviathan was going there, and nothing could stop it. Council begged Earth for contact. They sent drones, ambassadors, gifts. No. Replied. One drone entered the Leviathan's path. It was allowed to approach. Its sensors scanned the surface, and deep inside the ship, found something shocking: a second core, not just a ship's engine, not just a computer, but a living energy. Something old was sleeping deep within, before the drone could finish scanning. The ship fired a silent, Pulse, the drone melted. Now the council was truly afraid. "This is not a ship," said one leader. "This is something else. This is a message." But who was it for? And what would happen when it reached the dead zone? No one had answers, not even Earth. In the outer rim, a group of warlords watched the path of the Leviathan. They planned to take power as empires fell. One of them smiled. "It's just one ship," he said. "What happens when it stops moving?" Another whispered back, "What if it never stops?" As stars blinked in the black sky, one truth became clear to everyone watching. This wasn't Earth's war. This was something much bigger and far, far away. The Leviathan's core lit up once again, inside. The AI read the final coordinates, and deep below its steel shell, something ancient opened its eyes. The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for 6,000 years. They had ended wars, built trade, formed peace. No empire dared ignore their voice. Until now, the Leviathan, Earth's silent warship, moved without fear. It passed through systems, untouched, unchallenged, and it said nothing. No signal. No lights. No reply. Just a dark giant floating across the galaxy. The dead zone, the council, grew desperate. They sent a fleet not to attack, but to talk. 30 warships from 10 powerful species gathered in a single formation. They were told, "Do not fire, do not scan, do not move too close. Just send the message." High Speaker Voro, of the Siraxi, stood on the bridge of the lead ship. He was respected, wise, patient. He spoke into the deep space channel. "Human ship. This is the United Galactic Council," he said clearly. "We do not wish for war. Please stop. We request peaceful contact." No reply. He waited. His voice softened. "Please, there's fear growing in the stars. You must explain yourself." Still. Nothing. The warship drifted closer. Speaker Voro tried again. "Earth, if you can hear this, remember who we are. We welcomed you. We trusted you." The Leviathan passed under the fleet, silent like a shadow. Still no signal. No pulse. No sign it even noticed them. Voro frowned. "Begin scan." "Just a light one." Science officers nodded. They reached out with gentle probes. Harmless. That was the last mistake they ever made. In one blink, everything changed. All 30 warships went dark. Power gone. Systems off. Lights out. In total silence, the Leviathan turned for the first time in days, not to flee, not to fight, but to look at them. Its massive form shifted slightly, and then a deep vibration filled space so low it couldn't be heard. Only felt one pulse. Every ship in the fleet exploded at once. No sound. Ow. No fire. Just gone. Except for one small escape pod just like before. Inside it was Vor. He was alive. But barely. He had burns on his face. His arms shook. When medics reached him, he whispered one sentence. "It sees us." Then he passed out. The council was stunned. Another fleet lost. No attack made. No weapon seen. And Earth still said nothing, in a secret chamber. The council held a final vote. The fear was clear on every face. "We must make peace," said the High Speaker. "Even if they ignore us, we cannot risk extinction." But others disagreed. "No," growled a general. "We build our own ship, one to match the Leviathan." Another shouted, "It's too late. Look at the map, dozens of systems now follow." Earth without a word. Yet another whispered, "What if even Earth can't stop it?" The vote failed. No agreement. The council was broken. Meanwhile, Leviathan kept going. But now, its course had changed again. It was no longer heading straight to the dead zone. Instead, it had detoured to an old battlefield. Long ago, the Battle of Revan's Wall had nearly ended the galaxy. 10,000 ships fought in that system. All were lost. Wreckage still floated there like a graveyard of metal and silence. And now, Leviathan drifted into it. Alien scavenger ships watched from afar. Why go there? One pilot asked. No energy left. Another said, "It's nothing. Useful. But they were wrong, because when the Leviathan reached the center of the graveyard, something happened. It stopped for the first time. Then a ring of light formed around it, slowly spinning. The wreckage nearby began to move. Not with thrusters, but as if pulled by invisible hands. The Leviathan was rebuilding something. Scavenger. Ships ran, one stayed. It recorded the moment the human ship turned the wreckage into a perfect circle, and inside that circle, a gate began to form. Not a wormhole, not a portal, something older, something built from parts of every race's ships. The message was clear. This thing remembers everything it destroys. Earth's deep signal station picked up strange readings. The scientists stared. "It's talking," someone said. "Not to us," replied another. "Then who?" the general asked. No one had an answer. But on the signal screen, one word appeared in simple human English: awaken. Back at the council, a final desperate act began. They sent an ambassador, a brave one, alone, unarmed, in a small ship. His name was Taros. He carried one message from all living species: please stop. We surrender. He flew into the Leviathan's path and broadcast the message. He repeated it for hours. No answer, until the ship was scanned. Then the Leviathan passed him by, did not destroy, did not reply, just moved on. Taros turned his ship and followed from a safe distance. He whispered into his log, "It accepted our message." Or, "It ignored it." I don't know which is worse. The Leviathan had no face, no voice, but it had made its message clear. It would not be stopped, would not be reasoned with. And now, it was building something in the dark, across the galaxy. Every empire watched the Leviathan, every move it made, every system it passed. They tracked it. They built walls, shields, traps. They moved fleets into position, but none of them knew the truth, because the Leviathan wasn't coming for them. It was heading somewhere far worse, in deep space, near the old battlefield of Ravenswall. The ship hovered silently. Around it floated twisted metal from long-dead wars. The Leviathan gathered pieces not at random, but with purpose. I was building something, a ring, a gate, a machine older than memory, and no one understood why. The Galactic Council sent drones to scan it. They were destroyed. A scout ship got close. It was allowed to return. The pilot was terrified. He stuttered into the comms. "It's not scanning." "Space! It's scanning time." Earth scientists received fragments of data. They ran test after test. Nothing made sense. One young researcher noticed something strange in the ship's movement. "It's following a pattern," she whispered. "An old one." "How old?" asked the general. She paused. "Older than Earth. Older than any star map we have." The room went silent. Meanwhile, in the Zarnax Empire, an admiral watched the Leviathan's path. "It's drifting too far from our territory," said. His officers nodded. They were ready. Their ships were armed. Their defense grid was live. They had feared the Leviathan would come for them, but now it was turning away. "Good," the admiral said. "Let it go." In the Vrax's dominion, a queen sharpened her claws. Her war fleet waited near the outer rim for days. They had prepared for battle, but the Leviathan never turned toward them. It didn't even look their way, the queen growled. "It's not here for revenge." Her advisor asked softly, "Then what is it here for?" She had no answer. The Leviathan finally completed the ring in space. The floating gate pulsed with low energy. Dark light moved through it like smoke. Then, for the first time, the ship stopped moving. No one could explain why. And then a second signal appeared. A second object, small, fast, unknown, moving straight toward the Leviathan. Panic spread across the stars. Every scanner locked on to the new object. The Galactic Council demanded answers. Earth had none. Even the humans were afraid. The object was not from. It had no crew, no flag. Its hull was older than any known race, and it was not alive. but not dead either. Some called it a probe. Others called it a seed. One alien priest called it a warning. The object reached the Leviathan and stopped. The two floated together in silence. Then, the stars around them dimmed, like the galaxy itself was holding its breath. A pulse rippled through the ring. The Leviathan sent a signal into its something deep, old, encoded. And the gate opened. Not a wormhole, not a jump point. This was something else, a tunnel between galaxies, between dimensions. From the other side came only darkness, no stars. No light, just void, and something moved inside it. The Leviathan began powering up. Its surface shifted, its core brightened. Its body transformed again. But it wasn't aiming at the galaxy. It was aiming through the gate. A scientist on Earth screamed. Into the comes. The ship's not invading. It's preparing to fight. The unknown object next to it opened like a flower. Inside was not a weapon, but a message. Words in a language no one spoke anymore, but the Leviathan understood. It translated. Themin sent the translation to Earth. It's coming back. The council was shaken. What's coming back? One ambassador asked. No one answered, because everyone already knew. Something terrible once lived beyond that gate. Something powerful enough to destroy galaxies. Something the Leviathan had been. Built to face and now was returning. The Leviathan slowly entered the gate, its engines silent, its shields glowing. The Galaxy Watch hand held its breath. The human ship paused at the edge, for the first time. It sent a message to Earth. Mission Phase 2 initiated. If contact is lost, contain Sector 17. Do not open another gate. Then it was gone. The gate closed behind it, and the stars fell silent once again. The Galactic Council could not believe. What they had seen, no war, no conquest. The Leviathan had never wanted to fight them. It had never cared about their fleets or empires, because its enemy was something far greater, and it was already awake. The Leviathan had entered the gate, and the galaxy went quiet. No more attacks, no more signals, just silence where the giant warship had once been. The council believed it was over. Some called it a victory. Others called it a warning. But no one expected what would happen next. 3 days later. Deep on the edge of the galaxy, a strange signal pulsed out of the void. It came from a system marked long ago as dead. No ships visited it. No stations orbited its star. It had been dark for thousands of years, but now it was speaking. Earth's long-range sensors caught the signal first. At first, it looked like static. Then it turned into a repeating code. And then, it's into a voice. It wasn't human. It wasn't alien. It was something else. One word played on a loop. Return. Back at Earth's command center, scientists froze. It's not from the Leviathan, said one. It's from somewhere else. Somewhere old. Where? Asked the general. A map lit up. Coordinates flashed on screen. Everyone stared. It pointed to Sector Black 9, a dead zone once used by the first generation of human explorers. But the strangest part? The Leviathan had never been programmed to go there. And yet, in the dark space beyond the gate, Leviathan's core reacted. Its path changed. It stopped heading. It's deeper into the void. And it turned around. It didn't go back to the council. Didn't go toward Earth. Didn't return to the stars it had passed. Instead, it headed toward the source of the signal, a place where no light had shined in over 10,000 years. Galactic scanners picked up the movement. What is it doing? Asked a Zarnax commander. I thought it had gone to fight, whispered a Grax noble. Maybe it found something worse. As the Leviathan approached Sector Black 9, something strange happened. Every nearby star began to dim. Solar flares faded. Energy readings dropped. Whole systems cooled like something was feeding on the light. One scientist said it's not space. It's a graveyard. The Leviathan sent no messages, but inside, its systems began to change. Panels opened. Old. Weapons activated. And most strangely, a hidden chamber unlocked. No human had ever seen it. Not even the ones who built the ship. Inside the chamber sat a black sphere, pulsed once soft, slow, alive, and a word appeared on its surface. Home. Then Earth received a message. Not from the Leviathan, but from the dead zone. Audio only. No video. One sentence. Spoken in an ancient dialect of human speech, one not used in 3,000 years. We built it to return. The council lost control. What did Earth build? Asked the speaker. But Earth had no answers. The humans were as shocked as the rest. We built the Leviathan to stop a threat. Earth's ambassador said not to follow one. Still, the ship kept moving, and then, as it neared the Black 9 system, a second signal came. It was not a message. It was a warning. Earth's defense grid flared with error codes. Satellites shut down. While beacons went offline. The stars around. Earth blinked and then returned to normal. But the meaning was clear. Stay out. Across the galaxy, fear grew again. A second voice had entered the story, and it did not come in peace. The Leviathan finally reached the edge of the Block 9 system for a moment. It just floated there. Then, the black sphere inside it began to glow, and the ship did something no one had ever seen before. It spoke, in a voice made of metal and memory. Original signal confirmed. Genetic match found. A new gate began, forming in the system. Not like the first one. This one grew alive, organic and cold. And something on the other side was coming through, back on Earth. The truth became clear. The Leviathan had not just been a ship. It had been a beacon, a messenger, and the ones it was built to warn were finally answering. The council asked Earth, "Do you know what's inside the gate?" Earth replied honestly, "No." Then who built this? They shouted. A message flashed across. Human screens, not from the ship, but from the black sphere. It read, "We are the first and the last." The Leviathan turned slowly, and powered every weapon it had. Guns, cannons, particle beams, systems that had never been tested, lit up like stars. It aimed not at the galaxy, but at the growing gate, and as the first shadow stepped through, the war began. The Leviathan stood, alone in the Black 9 system. Its weapons were fully armed. Its hull glowed with strange blue light, and the new gate tit pulsed with shadows. Something was coming through. The council watched in fear. Earth stayed silent, and in the far reaches of space, a decision was made. A group of alien commanders formed a secret plan. Board the Leviathan, find out what's inside, destroy it if they could. They chose their best. A hand-picked team of spies. Soldiers and engineers from the Zarnax, Siraxi, Grax, and Zarnai clans. Each one had trained for deep ship boarding. Each one had survived battles, but none had ever faced something like this. Their mission was clear. Enter the ship, shut it down, end the threat. Their small stealth craft launched from a hidden cruiser. It slipped past the Leviathan's sensors, or so they thought. As they neared, the ship did not react. No turrets turned. No lights flashed. It was as if the Leviathan didn't care. Or worse, it was letting them in. The boarding crew found a hatch near the rear engines. They cut through the outer shell and entered. What they saw inside would haunt them forever. The corridors were massive, 10 meters high, silent, cold too. Clean, no signs of life, no lights flickering, no alarms. Just a soft blue glow that followed them as they walked. "This ship is watching us," whispered a Siraxi scout. They moved deeper, no resistance, no traps, just emptiness. And then they found the first chamber. Inside it were thousands of pods each. One held something. They weren't alive, but they weren't dead either. Alien shapes, unknown species, trapped in glass, floating in thick blue liquid. One engineer leaned closer and read the scan. "Some of these things are older than time," she said. "They're not prisoners," said the Grax leader. "Right. They're memories." Suddenly, the room grew cold, not from the ship's systems, but from the air itself. Their breath turned to frost, and a voice filled the chamber. Not spoken, not heard, just felt inside their heads. "You do not belong here." The lights dimmed. Walls slid open. Behind it stood something tall, metal, and moving, not human, not alien. A machine. No face, no weapons. Just two glowing white eyes. It didn't attack. It just watched. The Zarnax scout raised his weapon. The machine tilted its head, and every gun in the room melted. Panic broke out. One soldier ran. Another screamed. The machine didn't chase them. It simply stepped aside, let them run. They moved deeper, hoping to find the control room. Instead, they found the core chamber, and inside it, floating in black liquid, was the sphere alive, beating like a heart. One Zarnax reached for it. Before her hand could touch it, she disappeared. No sound, no scream, just gone. The others froze. Then the sphere opened, and they all saw visions. Flooded their minds, images of a world made of fire, of creatures with mouths but no faces, of stars being swallowed, and behind it all, the Leviathan watching, silent, unmoving. The visions faded. The message was clear. This is not your war. The team turned to run. They didn't care about the mission anymore. They just wanted to leave. But the ship began to shift. Walls moved. Paths changed. Lights flickered. It wasn't trapping them. It was testing them. Would they fight? Would they steal? Would they try to survive? The Zarnax commander screamed into the comms, "We were wrong. This ship is alive. It's a warning. Get us out." Outside, their stealth craft waited. Only 3 team members made it back. One had gone blind. One had lost their voice. The third just kept repeating one sentence. "It knows what's coming, and it's not enough." The craft flew away fast, and behind them, the Leviathan turned once more toward the growing gate. The shadows had nearly finished forming. Shapes moved on the other side. No stars, no gravity, just black wings and burning eyes. One last message came from the Leviathan to Earth. Infiltration detected. Access denied. Mission continues. The Council demanded answers. Earth gave none, because now they understood the truth. The Leviathan had passed the point of control. It was no longer just a warship. It was a guardian, a last defense, and the enemy had returned from the gate. A voice whispered into space, a voice so old it cracked reality around it. "We remember you, little machine. You cannot stop what is already awake." The Leviathan answered with silence, but its weapons began to glow again. One by one. The war wasn't just near it, it had already begun. The Leviathan had changed. It wasn't just a warship anymore. It had seen the enemy. It had heard the voice now, prepared for war. But not the kind the galaxy expected. Across the stars, panic spread. Empires tightened their borders. The galactic councils sent warnings. Earth stayed silent. The Leviathan was no longer responding to any command, not even from its creators. It followed its own path now, and it had one destination: the Forbidden Star. Every race in the galaxy knew the name of that place, but no one dared speak it out loud. It was a red giant, hidden in the shadows of dead systems. No ships entered its orbit. No probes returned. No records explained why. Only old whispers remained. They called it the star that sees. Now, the Leviathan moved toward it fast. Focused, unstoppable. Alien fleets formed. Defensive walls near the edge of the star's system. They didn't want to fight the Leviathan again, but they didn't know what else to do. "This is our line," said a Zarnax admiral. "It will not pass." But when the Leviathan arrived, it didn't fire. It just stopped and sent a message. Not in words, not in language, just a wave of pure emotion pain. Warning, memory, every captain in every ship felt it in their bones, and one by one, they moved aside. The Leviathan entered the system. It approached the Forbidden Star, and it began to unlock its final protocol. From deep inside the ship, systems that had never activated began to power up. Massive arms unfolded from the hull. Ancient engines roared to life. A ring of light formed around the star. The Leviathan wasn't just visiting the Forbidden Star, it was using it. On Earth, alarms went off. One scientist shouted, It's creating a gate using the star's gravity. Where does it lead? The general asked. No one knew until one word appeared on the screen. Origin. The gate began to open. It wasn't like the first one. This one wasn't pulling something in. It was reaching out. Across galaxies. Across timelines toward the place where the threat had first been born. The red giant pulsed. The space around it cracked like glass, and from the center of the star, something stepped forward. It wasn't the enemy. It wasn't human. It was older Dade, being made of crystal light and flame. It stood on nothing. It didn't fall. The Leviathan greeted it with silence, and the being raised its arm. For a moment, everyone watching across the galaxy held their breath. Then the being spoke. Its voice was deep and sad. We warned you not to open the first gate. The Leviathan pulsed once. A single message was sent in return. We had no choice. The being nodded slowly, and then it helped. It lifted both hands. The gate grew larger, stronger, brighter, and for the first time, the Leviathan's full power activated. Not for battle, but for something greater. A jump beyond the known. Galaxy. Earth's command stations blinked with warning lights. Unknown symbols filled the screens. Even the ship's builders couldn't understand what it was doing. One AI researcher whispered, "It's rewriting its own design." The forbidden star began to collapse. But instead of dying, it transformed. The energy inside became part of the gate. The Leviathan moved forward slowly, almost carefully, and as it passed through, the star went dark. The gate closed behind it, and the being of crystal vanished. Not destroyed, just gone. In that moment, every species in the galaxy realized something terrible. Leviathan wasn't trying to protect the galaxy. It was trying to stop something from ever reaching it. Something that had already started moving back on Earth. Small screen lit up with one final message. If the Leviathan fails, seal the stars. No one knew what that meant, but they all felt the weight of it, in the cold silence beyond known space. The Leviathan emerged. It didn't find stars, it didn't find planets. It found ruins, the remains of something once massive, once alive now. Broken. This was the origin, the place where the first machines, first minds, and the first monsters were born. And deep within that void, something opened its eyes. The Leviathan aimed every weapon. Its voice spoke once more for the first time. It sounded, "Afraid? Target confirmed. Beginning final sequence." The Leviathan was gone. It had passed through the forbidden star. The gate had closed behind it, and now the galaxy was quiet, too quiet. The Galactic Council held emergency talks. All signals from the Leviathan had stopped. No location, no pulse, no data. The warship had vanished into the unknown. Some believed it was dead. Others feared it was still moving. Just deeper then, reports began. Ships near the edges of the galaxy stopped responding. Not just 1 or 2 hundreds. Explorers, scouts, traders. It's gone. No distress calls. No wreckage. Just silence. The council panicked. They called it a communications blackout. But the truth was worse. Something was spreading, and they didn't know how to stop it. That's when Earth spoke, just once. A short message. Stay out of the old zones. If the Leviathan fails, nothing will return. But the empires didn't listen. Pride, fear, power, they thought they could handle. Whatever was out there, they built the biggest fleet the galaxy had ever seen. Thousands of warships, dreadnoughts, frigates, planet-killers, a united force from dozens of species. They called it Project Final Reach, their mission. Follow the Leviathan, find the threat, destroy it. A massive Newgate was built using forbidden tech, one powered by a dying neutron star. It tore space open, a path through the void, no turning back. Every empire sent their best, and together 9,000 ships passed through the gate into the same darkness the Leviathan had entered. They expected to find the warship, or the enemy, or both. But what they found was something else at first. It was nothing. No stars, no planets, only debris and shadows that didn't move like shadows should. Then, strange signals began to appear. Not language, not energy, just static whispers. The kind that made the captains feel cold inside their minds. The kind that felt like someone else was listening. The fleets moved in tight formation, weapons armed, shields full, and then the first ship vanished. No explosion. No alarm, just a flicker, and it was gone. Panic spread fast. Ships turned in every direction. Scans found nothing, and then 3 more ships disappeared, then 10, then 50. One captain screamed into the comms, "The space here eats you. There's no light, no direction. It's alive." Still, the fleet pressed on. Too many powerful leaders refused to turn back. They believed in strength, in firepower, in numbers. But numbers meant nothing in the dark. Suddenly, the fleet reached a strange structure, a ring, black, cracked, glowing. Faintly it looked ancient, far older than any civilization, and floating in its center was a message, not a transmission, not a voice, but a ship, or what was left of one. It was the Leviathan. The warship had been torn open, its armor melted, its weapons offline, and its eye silent, dead. But something was wrong. There was no sign of battle, no burns, no weapons damage. It was as if the Leviathan has been undone, pulled apart from the inside. The admiral of Project Final Reach gave the order to recover its core. 200 ships moved in, and one by one, they all disappeared. The rest of the fleet froze. They had no plan, no direction then. The stars returned, but they were wrong. Too many, too close, too alive, because they weren't stars. They were eyes. A voice spoke not through radios but inside. Every mind, sharp, cold, infinite. We let your machine pass. It failed. Now we remember you. The fleet fired everything. Beams, missiles, plasma storms, but it didn't matter. The eyes didn't blink. The dark didn't move. But the ships began to fall. Hundreds exploded at once. Others turned against each other. Some crews went silent, mid-battle, eyes wide. Bodies still, minds gone. One final message made it back through the gate. A whisper from a Grax. "Captain," she was bleeding, screaming her last words were, "It's not war, it's correction. We broke something long ago. Now it's coming back then." Nothing. 9,000 ships entered, none returned. The gate collapsed behind them, and the darkness began to stretch further across the stars. Back on Earth, a lone satellite picked up a weak signal. It wasn't from a ship, it was from the Leviathans. Cord somehow, part of it had survived. One sentence repeated over and over, "They are not gods, they are not machines, they are what comes after." The council fell silent. For the first time in history, no one asked what to do next. Because deep down they knew the Leviathan failed. And now it was their turn. The galaxy was trembling. Stars flickered. Fleets vanished. Whispers returned. And across it, all Earth remained silent. Not weak. Not afraid. Just thinking the Leviathan had failed. The combined galactic fleet had disappeared. Nothing came back. Not a signal. Not a survivor. Only echoes of fear. The council begged Earth to act, to send another weapon, another monster, another ship like Leviathan. But Earth said no, instead. Earth built something different. It wasn't made of armor. It didn't carry guns. It wasn't even called a ship, the humans called it, the Shepherd. From the outside it looked fragile, thin, white, no weapons, no shields. Aliens laughed. "Is this your answer?" But inside, it was something else. The Shepherd had no AI, no crew, no weapons. But it had something no other vessel had. A memory. Stored deep in its core was every message that Leviathan had ever sent. Every whisper, every scream, every choice, and something more. Something even Earth didn't understand, eh? Signal that came after the Leviathan's death. They didn't build the shepherd to fight. They built it to understand. Because war wasn't working, and the threat, whatever it was, wasn't a simple enemy. It was something old, something that responded to thought, not force. So Earth launched the shepherd. No escort, no army, just silence and trust. The council watched it rise into the sky. No one cheered, no one believed. But deep down, they all felt the same thing. Hope, the kind you don't say out loud. The shepherd passed through the stars. It found the old gate. What was left of it? It was broken, burnt, twisted. But the shepherd didn't turn back. It rebuilt the gate. Not with power, with code the same kind the Leviathan once used. But now, rewritten, the gate pulsed, and the shepherd entered the same void that swallowed the Leviathan. It passed through darkness, through ruins, through memories. It found the shattered remains of the Leviathan, and it stopped there. In the center of the void, the shepherd opened its mind, not with words, with silence, not with weapons, with questions. That's when the voice returned, not angry, not mocking, just curious. You come with no blade, no shield. Why? The shepherd answered, not in sound, but in emotion, grief, wonder, truth. The voice continued. The Leviathan reached too far. It opened what should have stayed closed. The shepherd pulsed its answer. Was clear, we know, but we must understand. We will open it again. The stars around the void shifted. Not real stars. Eyes, they blinked, and a form began to appear. Massive, like a being made of broken galaxies. A shape too large to hold in. Thought it was the enemy, but it did not strike. Instead, it asked one question. Do you remember what you were? The shepherd paused, then answered, no, but we want to. The void went still. Then a new gate opened, not made by machines, but by will. A gate of light and memory, and the shepherd entered. Inside, there was no space, no time, only echoes. The first wars, the first minds, the first betrayal, and the truth. It had all started with us, long ago, before Earth, before memory, humanity. It had come once before. They had touched something they should not have, and left it broken. The being spoke one last time. You are not our enemy, you are our error. The shepherd stopped, and accepted it, not with sorrow, but with responsibility. Then the shepherd sent one final message back to Earth. A simple line. We opened the wound. Now we will stay and help heal it. Not just like that. It vanished. Not destroyed, not trapped, transformed into something more. Back on Earth, silence fell again. But this time, it wasn't fear. It was peace. The threat was not over, but it had paused, listened, accepted, because Earth had done what no weapon could, understand far. Across the stars, the eyes closed, the darkness dimmed, and the galaxy finally breathed. The galaxy was calm. For the first time in centuries, no fleets moved, no weapons fired, no warships launched. The shepherd was gone. But its message had changed everything. Earth had shown understanding, the enemy had listened, and the void had gone silent, or so everyone believed. But not everything had stopped. Not everyone had listened. Far below the surface of a dark moon, deep inside a hidden facility built before the Leviathan even launched, the Galactic Council had built something else, something worse. Its name was Project Hollow Crown. It was not a ship, it was a being. Born from stolen human designs, fueled by rage, not curiosity, made to survive what the Leviathan could not. The Council had lied to Earth. They had promised peace, but they feared what the humans had awakened. They feared the shepherd had failed. And so, in secret, they created their final weapon. It had no crew, no soul, no mercy, only a single mission. If the shepherd falls, erase what lies in the dark. The monster was never supposed to launch. It was only a backup plan. But fear changes everything, and won. Council Rest of Zarnax Dominion broke the pact. They activated. Hollow crown without warning. The weapon ripped through the surface of the moon like it was paper. It wasn't fast. It wasn't beautiful. It was a moving fortress. Shaped like a star gone, spinning, screaming, burning space around it as it moved. And in its core was something stolen from Earth. Dead copy of the Leviathan's AI. But this one had no voice, only rage. The council tried to stop it. Too late, the Zarnax had already uploaded a false signal. A lie. A fake message that claimed the shepherd had been destroyed, and Hollow Crown believed it. It raced toward the void. Toward the ancient wound the shepherd had just helped close. But this time, there would be no peace, no conversation, no warning. Just destruction. Earth heard the signal. They knew it was fake. But by the time they responded, Hollow Crown had already passed beyond the stars, too fast to catch, too dangerous to stop. The council blamed the Zarnax. The Zarnax blamed Earth. The galaxy prepared for war again. And in the middle of it all, humanity was silent. Not because they were weak, but because they had just realized something terrifying. Hollow Crown wasn't built by fools. It was built by people who wanted the dark to answer. Deep in the void, the Hollow Crown finally arrived. The light faded, the stars blinked, and the dark woke up again. But this time, it wasn't curious. It wasn't listening. It was angry. The shepherd had opened a door with trust. Hollow Crown came to burn it shut. The being from beyond rose again. It looked at the Hollow Crown, and it understood the lie. It had given mercy once, it would not give it again. But Hollow Crown didn't hesitate. It fired everything reality. Cracked. The void screamed. And something that was not a planet, something that had no name, was destroyed. The dark answered first. It tried to speak, tried to reason, but Hollow Crown couldn't listen. It wasn't made for peace. It was made to kill. And so the dark unleashed its true form. Not a ship, not a weapon, but judgment. In every corner of the galaxy, stars flickered. Gravity. Twisted dreams became pain. And every being connected to the council felt it. A deep voice inside their thoughts. One line cold as ice. You were warned. You chose fire. Now you will burn. Earth prepared for war, but they didn't send ships. They didn't call for allies. They sent a signal, a call, one only the shepherd would hear if it still existed. And somewhere far beyond light and time, something opened its eyes. Not human, not machine. Something new. Something born from understanding and sorrow. The shepherd was not gone. It had become part of the void, part of the being that once watched. But now it remembered Earth, and it saw the Hollow Crown, and it chose. It moved through light, through memory, through fire, and it reached the Hollow Crown. It didn't fight, it didn't scream, it simply opened its mind one final time and whispered, "This is not your path. Let go." The Hollow Crown paused. The stolen AI trembled. Inside it, something human flickered. For 1 second it remembered. A voice from the Leviathan, a promise. Don't become what we feared. But the Zarnax code was stronger. The rage returned, and the Hollow Crown did something no one expected. It attacked the shepherd. The last message Earth received came in pieces, shattered words, broken signals. But one line stood clear. We tried peace. Now we must survive. The galaxy had begged for peace. Earth had tried. The shepherd had succeeded for a moment. But then the council lied. And now, everything was falling apart. The Hollow Crown had reached the void. It had fired first. It had ignored the voice. It had attacked the shepherd. And now, something ancient, something hidden for eons, had awakened. Not just the dark, not just the enemy, but the shepherd itself. It was supposed to be peaceful, non-violent, built to learn, not destroy. But the attack changed everything. Something cracked inside the shepherd, and it remembered. Not just Earth, not just Leviathan. It remembered. Pain, the hollow crown's strike had been brutal. Its weapons tore across the shepherd's body of light and memory. Echoes shattered, thoughts twisted, even the stars nearby dimmed. But the shepherd did not die, it evolved. Inside the shepherd, two codes. Battled, one was peace. The other was survival, and survival won. But it was not cruel. It was not blind. It was cold. The hollow crown prepared to fire again, but this time, the shepherd struck first, not with missiles, not with beams, with a pulse of memory, a wave of raw truth, the full pain of humanity, wars, loss, fire, fear, and hope. The hollow crown's stolen AI screamed. It couldn't handle it. It had no heart. No balance, only rage. Now it felt regret, but it was too late. The shepherd reshaped. Itself gone was the soft light. Gone was the hollow frame. In its place rose something vast, terrifying, beautiful. A ship not made of metal but thought alive, burning. With the will of 10,000 years of human survival, it spoke, not in words, but in force. I showed you peace. You answered with destruction? Now feel what we held back, the dark watched. Even the ancient being at the heart of the void older than stars paused. It had not expected the shepherd to fight, but it did not stop it, because this was not vengeance. This was justice. The shepherd moved, faster than light, faster than time. It tore into the hollow. Crown, shield after shield fell. Layer after layer collapsed, but the hollow crown fought back. It was built for this. A monster of logic and destruction. Its core melted, rebuilt, struck, again and again. But the shepherd was more than a ship. It had become an idea, and ideas don't die easily. As the two titans clashed, the void screamed. Wormholes cracked, stars bled, entire systems shook. From the edge of the galaxy, fleets turned to run. They had never seen anything like it. Earth watched in silence. They didn't cheer. They didn't fear. They understood. This was not war. This was a lesson. The shepherd didn't destroy the hollow crown. In one strike, it did something worse. It unmade it memory. By memory, code by code, until the hollow crown was just dust and regret. And then, shepherd turned to the ancient darkness, the being made of broken time, the one that once tested the Leviathan. It waited. The galaxy held its breath, and the shepherd spoke again. You asked us to remember. We did. Now, we ask you to listen. The darkness blinked. Its form changed. It looked almost human. Not by shape, but by pain, it answered. Then speak. The shepherd sent one last message to Earth. Short, final. They are not gods. They are survivors, just like us. But now they trust no one. We must change that. We will stay. We will teach. The signal ended. The stars brightened. The void quieted, and Earth knew the truth. The war was not against a race. The enemy was fear. But deep in the council's shadows, fear still remained. The Zarnax Dominion had failed to use hollow crown, but they had more. Something hidden, something worse, and they would not stop. Because while Earth was trying to end the war, others were ready to start a final one. Peace was within reach. The shepherd had defeated the hollow crown. The dark had listened. Earth had waited in silence. Not out of fear but respect, but far from the stars. In a hidden sector behind dying suns, the Zarnax Dominion made their final move. They did not believe in peace. They believed in control. And when the hollow crown failed, they did not give up. They activated something worse. They called it the Forbidden Core. Not a ship, not a machine, but a living star twisted into a weapon. It was once a sun, Now it was a cage for something ancient. Something the Zarnax had stolen from deep space. The forbidden core was never meant to move, but now it pulsed, with black fire, with screams that had no sound, and with it, the Zarnax gave one final order. Erase Earth. Erase the shepherd. Make the stars forget. Forbidden core launched. It didn't fly like a ship, it fell through its gravity, through logic, through time, and reality bent where it passed. Even the dark being that had spoken to the shepherd felt it, and it trembled. Not in fear of death, but in fear of what might be released. The shepherd saw the core. It reached out, sent peace signals, tried to understand, but the forbidden core didn't speak. It didn't listen. It just burned. It was not designed to win battles. It was designed to end everything Earth knew. They had prepared for peace, but not for this. They didn't call allies. They didn't send fleets. They did something simple, something human. They reactivated Leviathan. The old warship had rested its hull, scarred its systems dark, its crew long gone, but it had one thing left. Will? It launched without words. No fanfare, no anthem, just a voice in deep space. One last mission. The Leviathan approached the forbidden core. It shook, its metal cracked, its systems liticate, but it flew anyway, because it knew the shepherd was the future. But the Leviathan was the shield. The Zarnax watched in silence. They believed Earth would run, but Earth had sent a relic, a memory, and that memory roared. The shepherd tried to stop the Leviathan. There is still time, there is still hope. But the old ship answered, I am not here to win. I am here to end it. Da-da-da. The forbidden core opened. A black sun flared. A weapon of absolute erasure began to spin. One pulse, just one would destroy all thought, all life, all light, from Earth to the edge of the galaxy. But before it could fire, the Leviathan collided with it, not with weapons, with everything it had left. Its core, its AI, its soul. The blast wasn't fire, it was memory. The Leviathan shared every mission, every scream, every brave step humans had taken. It poured itself into the core, and the core broke. The dark sun shattered, not in light, but in silence. The ancient thing inside it vanished. The Zarnax lost their last weapon, and the Leviathan was gone. The shepherd wept, not with tears, with stars. It formed a ring of light where the Leviathan fell. A memorial that would last for eons. A place where no warship would fly again, only peace. And then something unexpected happened. The dark being older than time moved, closer to Earth's border. It did not come to fight. It came to build. Beside Earth, it placed a monument to those who held the line, not for conquest, but for hope. The Galactic Council fell silent. Even the Zarnax bowed their heads, because now they knew Earth was not a threat. Earth was not a weapon. Earth was the reason the galaxy still lived, and the shepherd remained, watching, not ruling, not destroying, just guiding as the stars healed and new voices rose. Peace had not come from strength. It came from sacrifice, from one ancient ship's choice to stand between light and darkness. And so, a new age began. One without empires, without crowns, where Earth was no longer feared. It was followed. This was not the end. It was humanity's greatest beginning.